Hello everyone, welcome back to Computer Science for Self-Taught. It is the continuation of our previous tutorial over fragment. This is the tutorial that I'm going to teach you how you can call a fragment inside another fragment. For example, in here I have created two fragments. So whenever I click on this fragment, so it calls another fragment like here, and also the title changes, and when I press the back button, so it comes to the main fragment. So is it necessary that fragment calls another fragment or where to initialize the UI widgets? In this tutorial I'm going to discuss all about this. So the first thing you need to remember that you must not call one fragment inside another fragment. So you have to let the main activity call other fragments. For example, when I click on India in this fragment calls a method activity, and that activity calls another fragment. So this is how it works. And this for this app we need to create two fragments. The first fragment which lists our list of countries, and another fragment when we create on a fragment, so it gets us to another fragment. So let's see how to create an app like this. So to do that, we need to create two layout files. The first layout file name should be the list of layout. For this should be relative layout, and click OK. Let me change the background for this fragment. I'm going to create a list view in here. Match parent wrap content. Make sure that you provide an ID for this one. My list country, and you can see our list view is created now. So let's create a class for this layout, so that we need to connect this class to this fragment. So let's name this country list, and a superclass should be fragment. Make sure that you import from this library v4 app, and click OK. So now we need to override the onCreate view. To do that, we need first we need to create a view in here. Make sure you can name it anything you want, and I do not want to return it immediately. We need to store it inside the read view by using the inflator dot inflate or dot layout dot list of country. Because fragments are containers, it holds other objects, so we need to pass the container object if we want to attach it to the root. So right now I don't want to attach it, and then we need to return our root view. So we need this is our list view. If I show in here like this one, so when I click on one of the items, so it moves us to another fragment. So for this we need to create another layout of fragments also. Let's name this use a relative layout or any layout you would like. That's it. We need to choose a background for this one also. Background like this one. So in here we are going to create a text view. Then you will see what it is for, because when we call another fragment, so this is the text view that we need to set the text or values for it. So we make sure that you put match parent and match parent ID for this text description, and the gravity for this should be center. Margin top should be 20 dp or 30 dp. Text size should be 30 sp, and the text style for this one should be bold and italic. So that's it. Now we need to create another class, Java class, for our country description. We name this country description. Also support from this fragment before. We need to override on create view. We also need to create another view, because you will see that why I do this in this way. So r dot layout dot country description, so it is a container. I don't want to attach it to the root, and then we want to return the root view. So I have a text view inside the description. I want to access to this, so how can I access to this one? And inside the country description we are going to create another text view. So we are going to create another method in here before the return. In it, UI, create the method inside this class. So we have the text view. How can I access this? We can, as I've told you before, I have created a global or instance variable root view. Now with this root view we can get access to that text view. So I write root view dot find view bar id r dot id dot text description. What was the id for this one? Text description. So that's it. Make sure that you cast it to text view class like this one. Amazing, isn't it? So the next thing we need to do is we need to get access to our list view. In here we need to create another list view, and we also need to create we need to set adapter for our list view, and we also need to set context for this one. And then you don't worry about this, then you will see in the code how I'm going to do this. And also we need to create an string of country list. So let's create all of this. So again I need to create a method. You can create the method whatever you want. You can name the method whatever you want. So in here we are going to first we must initialize the context, because in the set adapter we need this. And in the country list I have already stored and make sure that you open the values, and inside the strings create an string, create an array, and with all of these items inside this, because we're going to put these countries inside our list view like this one. So how to do this? You have to use the get resources, and it returns an object of resources, and by using that object I'm going to get the string array, and now it needs an ID of those arrays, and I use r dot array dot list country, because the name of this array is list country. Now we need to set the array adapter equals to new array adapter, and inside this one we need to pass the context object. This context is this one. So in here it requires a layout android.on.layout.simple list item 1. Now we need to pass the country list inside this. So we have created an array adapter for our list view. It's time for our list view to get initialized. List view equals to root view dot find view bar id r dot id dot my list country. We need to cast this to our list view. Now we need to set the click listener. List view dot set on click listener. Sorry about this. List view dot set on item click listener, new on item click listener. Make sure that you import this on item click listener from the adapter view. Now inside this class we need to call main activity, and our main activity will get our main activity will get call this country description. So for this for fragments to get interaction with main activity, and main activity interacts with other fragments, so we need to create an interface as the name of callback. And make sure that you choose interface, then you will learn how to do this. And in here we provide a method public void and name this method call me. This method let's call description, and make sure that you provide a string country naming here. Make sure that you provide a key in here, then you will know where we use this. Country selected. If you don't understand any of this, just make sure that you watch our previous video over fragments. If you have watched this and you don't understand this, just watch it, and till end of this video you will have some information about it. And if you haven't understood it much, make sure you watch the video again. So that's it. We need to implement that inside the main activity. Implements callback, and need to import it. So this is our main activity. Now I have implemented the call description method. So whenever our country list is collected, so we must have an object of callback interface. So that's how we are interacting with our main activity. So in here I'm going to create an object for this one, private callback back. So in here we need to create a method. Whenever I create the country list, I have to pass this public void is set callback, and it requires an object of callback call. We need to set this callback equals to this call one, and now we have the object of callback. We have the object of callback method. Whenever I create the counter list, I pass an object of main activity to this callback method, so that our counter list can have an object of callback. So with this object it calls the main activity fragment by using our main activity. So in here we need to create the object of fragment. For adding the fragments, we need to create the classes like fragment transaction as the name of transaction, and private fragment manager like this one. So let's do this. First I need to initialize the manager, get support fragment manager, and we need to create another method at fragment. We need to create this method. So transaction equals to manager dot begin transaction. Before I'm going to add that, in here I need to create the object of country list. List equals new country list. So now I'm going to pass this one, like I'm going to pass this by using the transaction dot add r dot id dot fragment container and this list. And this fragment container is nothing but the layout. That is the idea of the frame layout, because to this layout I'm going to add that I'm going to add those fragments. So we need to commit this transaction dot commit. So now we need to call the method of our set callback, because with this when our list has the object of callback, we can interact with our main activity dot set callback, and it requires a callback and it requires an object of callback method. We need to pass this because this refers to this class implements the callback. So now we have an object. So whenever the country list, so that's it. Now we have initialized our fragment list, and inside the fragment list we need to check that if callback was not equals to null, then we use the callback method dot. We need to call a method in here as the name of callback description. This method is dot callback description, and in here we must pass the object of selected from the list. For example, in here when I click in India, so it passes India as a selected item. So how to do this? We need to put the array in here, and by using the position object parameter, we can get our selected country. So now this country is passed to this country. So in here I'm going to create another method, public void description, and it requires an object country. We need to pass this object in here. We need to pass the object of country name to this method. So now our country description has this. We need to pass the country description in here. We use the bundle because by using the bundle we can set the title for this one. For example, when I click on UK, so it gives it the selected country and set the text of our notification, our title. So by using the bundle we can do this. We create the object of bundle, or you can also use the shared preferences bundle dot put a string. Now we use the callback. This is the key, and the country is our selected country. So now we need to create the object of our country description. Country description equals to country description. By using the object of description, we set the arguments and we pass the object of bundle that we have created. Now we have the transaction object manager dot begin transaction dot add r dot id dot fragment container. We need to pass the object of transaction, and now we need to push it into add to backstack, and you can choose a name for your backstack, otherwise you can pass null, and also make sure that you commit your chains. That's it. So I'm going to review the code and make sure that nothing is left in the main activity. So when the country list is collect and it comes to initialize the review, get context, we have selected. When the call description, it passes our position to main activity to this method, and this method passes the country into description here, and then we store the name of that country to this bundle. Then you will see if you teach how to use this one, and then we call the country description, and we make sure that you do not add it, make sure that you replace this one. That's it. And now we need to come to country description. Whenever I come to country description, I'll set the text. Now on resume, before I'm going to do that, on resume I need to create a method, because with this method we are going to pass our string. You're going to get our ID. Make sure that you pass the name of that country, and in here I'm going to choose a condition if country dot equals signal case r dot string dot, if the country was India, sorry about this, you don't need to do this in here, this one, okay, else if return r dot string dot Japan, and save this one. So I'm going to pause the video. So that's it. I have already written them. If the country was in this one, so it returns the ID string that India. If I come to a string, and so it returns this line of code. So let's back to our list view, to our country description. So how we are gonna set the text to this one? So we use the on create. We need to use the on activity created. With this method we can set the text of our description. Text view dot set text. Now we need to get the call the method of get string, and it requires an ID for those countries. So we call our method, which is get ID. So it requires the selected country. So as you know, we have already stored those inside the bundle in main activity. So how to get this? Then come in here, we need to create an object of bundle get arguments, and now we need to store them inside in a string bundle dot get string. We need to provide that key. So use the callback dot country selected, and make sure you put the default value. If nothing is passed, so default value will be passed. So if there were no value is passed, I'm going to set a message no value is passed. Now we can set the selected country in here. So if the selected country was UK, so it's going to pass the get ID this method. So it searches if there was a UCAS, so it passed the ID for this one because the return type of our method is integer, and when it gets the ID for that country, so it gets the string from it. For example, if the country was India, so it gets this text and it set the text for it. So nothing is left in here. Make sure I'm going to review if anything is left or no. So that's it. Let's run and see the output. Sorry that we need to set the adapter for our list view. I forgot to do this. Make sure that you do this. List view dot set adapter. I need to pass the object of our adapter. Let's rerun and see the output. That's it. So whenever I click on Afghanistan, so it's going to set that it's going to call main activity, and main activity calls the country description fragment. So make sure that you never call one fragment inside another fragment. When I click the backstack, so it comes to our main. When I click on Japan, so you can see all the text changes, Korea, like this one. So now the problem is how to get that country. For example, whenever I click on Afghanistan, so the title in here also changes. We need to call the on resume on main activity and also on other fragments. So whenever I choose a country, so the title in here also gets changed. So let's come to our on create on country list, or you can call country description. You can come to country description and call the on resume method in here, and in here we are going to get the app compact activity, and we need to get the main activity, get activity dot get support action board dot set title for this one. So I've already get the selected country and store that inside the bundle. We need to get that in here. So for that I create a global an instance variable as the name of string selected country, and I'm going to store that. I'll remove this one. And inside the on resume I'm going to put that value inside this. So let's run and see if it works properly or not. So when I click on Afghanistan, so the title also gets changed. Let's see if it works. Amazing, isn't it? If I click India, it also gets changed, and if I click China, it also gets changed. So whenever when I come to our list viewer, it remains the selected country. So how to do this? We need to also get calls the list view. And here we need to override the on resume method. We need to pass the app compact activity, get activity. Sorry about this. App compact activity, get activity. Make sure that you get the object of app compact activity and get support action board dot set title, and in here we need to call the get string or dot string dot app name. That's it. Now let's run and see if it works or not. Let's press backpress. You can see it also gets changed. It is so dynamic. So that's it, and this brings us to the end of this particular tutorial. If you have any question, make sure that you write it in the comment section down below, and if you are new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icons. So till next video, Peace out.